All right, there are just a couple things I want to make sure that you paid attention to as you did this here. When we're talking about a mid-segment of a triangle, it goes from a midpoint to a midpoint, and then therefore it is parallel. If we're talking about mid-segments, three things will always happen. You'll always have midpoint, midpoint, and parallel to the third side. Midpoint, midpoint, parallel to the third side. If you have two of those things, then the third thing would happen. So if you had a midpoint and it was parallel, then this would have to be a midpoint. If you got two midpoints, then they have to be parallel. Okay? So we talked about that last class, but I want to emphasize that again. These particular questions about the length of the midsegments, remember that this double the length of the midsegment equals the length of the third side. Double the length of the midsegment equals the length of the third side. If all 3 points are midpoints like this, that means that all three of these segments here are midsegments, which means that TE is congruent with IU because of the midpoint, which is also congruent with HD, the midsegment. ED, the midsegment, is congruent with TH and HV. Now, this only happens when all three of these segments are midsegments. So all three of these points are midpoints. Okay, that's not an always thing when it looks like this, but in this case, it works. Hopefully you got some questions answered here. Our friends' corresponding angles are back. We've had alternate interiors and same side interiors a lot lately, but they're back. We'll start seeing those a lot more. Remember about the congruent chunks here. If these parts are congruent and those congruent and these parts are congruent. Okay. On a question like this, a mistake that I see people make sometimes, you get so excited about doubling the midsegment to get the third side that you forget that this is just simply a midpoint, that 3y minus 8 equals 2y plus 1. So just take caution there. And hopefully y'all can answer each other's questions here.